Where we last left off, you guys had started to investigate the murder of Peter Hooper. You had found some interesting flowers, you had found some weird marks on him for the cause of death. Saza has decided to return to town and open up the Quiversand Tavern once again for her nightly business, while M and Kingsdale venture further into the woods to see if they can find anything else. Who would like to go first tonight?
I'm fine with whatever.
Cool. You made eye contact with the teacher. You're going first. You and M and Kingsdale, describe to me what you were doing.
So we just have kind of like started tramping across the woods, generally in the direction where we knew that like circle of flowers is, right?
Yes.
So Kingsdale, I think, is going to be trying to hit the streets, right? And I'm just trying to find a Fey hunter of some sort to meet and talk to. And that's roll on the circle, which I'm guessing would be wild?
Yes. Fey is wilds. What did you roll?
I rolled a 7 to 9, which is whoever you're going to is juggling their own problems, or the need of whatever I want is more costly, and I'll say, I don't really know which one makes sense, so I'll let you decide what makes most sense there.
Okay. What are you doing?
So my circle move is going to be studying a place of power. So I roll within that circle. So I add what I have with that circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is wild.
Yes.
So that's a 7. So you see below the surface to the reality underneath. Zach, you reveal an area, NPC, or item located within the forest that is not what it seems.
So you go traipsing through this forest with a lot of old-growth trees. They're tall trees. There's a variety of them. I don't know what trees grow out in...
Probably pines.
Yeah, you say that for everything. Pines. The thing is, I know what trees grow in the Midwest. I don't know what trees grow...
Right, deciduous trees grow in the Northwest, or in the Midwest. Also some pines. Out west, you're going to get pines, like if it's on a mountainy area. Or you're going to get something, I don't know, like shrubby and scruffy, like juniper or something.
Spruces, pines, aspens, white firs.
I was gonna say aspens! I was actually Googling, is aspen a right tree to grass right now?
So you have that variety of trees. Do I know what an aspen looks like? Absolutely not. But boy, do I know that a Douglas fir looks like a Christmas tree. This word tapestry is beautiful. I'm glad you guys have me being the DM.
Oh, aspen trees look sick.
Like, sickly or good?
No, like good. Anyways, doesn't matter. Moving on.
No, I gotta look up aspen trees now. Oh, they kind of look like birches. They look like how I think birches look. Am I thinking of birches? We've lost the thread. Yeah, they look similar. Okay, cool. I don't feel bad about that comparison. Caitlin can leave that one in. So you see these different types. You see aspens, you see firs, you see some pine trees. They are tall. You see the interesting thing that happens a lot in forests like this where the pine trees are very... There's not a lot of low branches because all of the canopy blocks out sunlight, so that's where they're trying to get their sunlight from. I was going to say food, just kind of true. Just felt weird to call sunlight food. As you go through here, M, you are very familiar with how the Fae work in a city. So you've had some dealings with Fae folk in the woods, but not a ton. Your benefactor kind of stuck to the city. That was more of his domain, being of the Court of Coin. And there's less coin to be had in more rural parts of the world.
In a place named Desperation, you don't say.
I was saying more just
No, I get it.
less city.
I'm just being a jerk.
That being said, you know certain signs to look for, and you're looking for those on the trees and different rocks and with the foliage. And weirdly enough to you, it doesn't look as present as you would think Fae having markings on their territory are. There's usually a lot of indicators that Fae are around, and this does not look like a full court is using this whole expanse in the way that you would expect for a court to be using this expanse.
Okay. Like, I would expect to have seen somebody by now. And we're, like, still wandering, and there's, like, little hints, but not, like, the Fae are here. Yeah.
Or not even that you'd wander into someone, because the Fae are often tricksy and use glamours, and are not always easy to spot, but you would expect there to be more signs of Fae activities. More fairy circles, more vaguely magical things around that denotes the presence of Fae.
Okay.
You're not seeing as many of those indicators as you would initially see, which makes you think that there is another layer of where they are operating that might not be just this forest.
Okay.
You guys keep traipsing along. Do you want to talk about anything before you run into someone, or no?
I do have stuff to talk about. I didn't know if you wanted to do his circle.
Now would be the time.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So as we're going through, and M is kind of like looking for signs of Fae. Huck, have you met any Fae before?
Kingsdale doesn't respond. He just keeps walking.
So, is that a no?
I am sorry, are you conversing with me, or has someone else arrived in our party that I was as yet unaware of?
Well, I wasn't going to say your name because we don't know who's around here. Speaking of which, if you haven't run into any Fae before, there's some things you should know, okay?
Kingsdale looks, like, confused and a little bit bad. Oh, I understand. So, for the reasons of subterfuge, for obfuscation, or for obscuring the fact of my normal name, with which I am usually quite cavalier, you might suggest taking on a different title.
Yes.
In that case, and he holds out his hand, Franklin at your service. It is lovely to meet you. I am a adventurer, a seeker of violence, and a quester for financial gain through the means of games of chance.
Great. So that's rule number 1. Don't.
And this is Princess Daffodil.
Glad we've got that covered. So no names. Be respectful but not pompous. Don't say thank you to express gratitude. Don't accidentally promise things. Again, don't give them your name. Even if it's a fake name, that make them suspicious if you're giving them your whole name and being so cavalier with it. So be careful. And are you carrying iron?
Would the presence of iron in any form be offensive, repugnant, or otherwise create hostilities amongst those for whom we seek?
Generally, yes. I think this group may be a little less so, but
I think it'll be just fine. I'm not carrying that much iron.
How much iron are you carrying?
Now, when you say iron, do amalgams or combinations or fusions of other metallic substances together with iron as the base element constitute?
Steel's okay. I'm talking cold iron.
Oh, I have none.
And she looks at, like, the Fair Lady Begonia's tack, like stirrups, bit, bridle, nothing.
I have some.
All right, well, do you have anything sweet on you?
Would whiskey constitute as sweet?
Do you have any sugar cubes for the Fair Lady Begonia?
The Fair Lady Begonia eats primarily carrots and apples. I have carrots.
You don't even let your horse splurge?
Now, let is different than am not able, but for a horse, carrots are quite a nice... My horse does not like you. Now, if one of us is to be able to...
Maybe if I gave her sugar cubes, she might change her mind.
You might try, but at the moment what I have is carrots, to which you are welcome if you wish to ingratiate yourself to Princess Daffodil.
Okay, so nothing sweet?
Should I have something sweet?
It's a good gesture with the Fae.
Oh, hang on. My personality, obviously.
Sure, we'll rely on that. We'll be fine.
Also, not to put too fine a point on this, if much of my origin, my lineage, or my personal training in history comes to light in a conversation with anyone of the Fae Kingdom, or Circle, or even like association, likely my presence will no longer be welcome and things might come to blows. So
Have you... She leans in and whispers, have you killed a Fae?
Kingsdale also leans in. I believe perhaps up to this point I have been coy as to the nature of my profession. Let me see if I might state it more plainly. In a previous life, I sought the death of many creatures who would come out of the woods and the darkness, anything that might seek to oppress, harm, or draw sustenance from humanity was in the wheelhouse of things that I sought violence against.
Oh, like Hubert, but real.
Oh, much like Hubert, but real, yes. In a way that might make Hubert less than kindly to me. I am no longer on good standing, nor have I ever been as such in good standing with said groups of people for a variety of reasons.
So, you have killed a Fae? Multiple Fae?
I am, uncomfortably comfortable with the sight and smells and textures of death of all varieties. The corpse near the road that we saw but a few moments ago is not some revelation, but rather a unfortunate callback to a grim time in my life when, yes, in fact, not just Fae, but all manner of creatures that might seek the harm of humanity have met their end at, if not exactly my hand, certainly at an implement held in it.
Oh, all right.
But I believe that idea we will keep to ourselves.
Yes, certainly.
For a variety of reasons, not least of which is, there's really no one who finds me particularly good to be around. It is not for nothing that I am in the employ of a demon in a town called Desperation. That is a decent summation of the choices in my life and where they have led me.
So you tried to kill a Fae and weren't good at it?
No, I tried to kill Fae and I was quite good at it. I was just not exceptional at it. In a family of exceptional people, I was merely mediocre.
Oh, what is your family doing? Do they all up and leave?
They currently are primarily occupying wood boxes several feet under the ground.
Oh, didn't mean to get into that.
It is all right, generally. They were... Family is family, but does not make one blind to the fact that maybe they were less than cordial to most others.
Are you saying someone killed them?
Well, in my line of work, generally, yes. Dying of old age is considered to be a failure, not a success.
That's a weird line of work.
To me, it seemed normal for a time, and then upon viewing a wider world, I discovered maybe it was, less than necessary.
So, you don't have any family left?
My mother is still alive, but that does not benefit me much, to say the least.
All right. Well, if she comes looking for you, I'll say I don't know anyone by that description.
I do not believe she will ever come looking for me.
Oh, well, lucky.
Imagine you were to have a dog that you were unfond of, and then one day that dog, of his own accord, got up and left, and you no longer had to feed or house that dog. I am that dog. That's me in this metaphor.
Got it.
And then maybe that dog was also, like, largely disappointing, and the last one alive out of a bunch of dogs that you really liked. I would also, and then in that case, be that dog.
All right.
Even then, maybe that dog, like, went to a large conflict where many other dogs and other things that dogs hunted were killed in massive numbers, and that dog both survived that conflict and also abandoned it, a coward. That would also be a lot of bad things. Anyways, I do not believe my mother is going to come looking for me.
Well, lucky you, I guess. You're free, right?
That is a way of... I would choose freedom over its alternative, but it is certainly not a wonderful tasting drink. It has its own bitterness, its own burn as it enters the mouth, and a foul gut feeling after overconsumption. I believe I have overly consumed of freedom and am now hung over from it.
Well, I can say you've been surprising, but not disappointing so far. So here's to new beginnings, I guess.
Do you try to clink a flask with him so you can get your drink out of the way?
That's true, yeah.
I am unhappy to report that is not a terrible compliment in the life that I have lived so far.
Well, thank you. I feel like it would have been rude to say it was.
Given our mutual danger in an odd land, is there a reason for which you have seemed to be off kilter since seeing the body that we both saw moments ago? I understand for some, seeing the fresh dead is an unusual and disconcerting and maybe even befuddling experience, but I was unsure if that was as to the only reason. And at this point, I am using my intimacy move of if I'm intimate with someone, they then have to give me an honest answer to a question.
So, you know how I'm an oracle, right? I see visions.
I don't know that you ever told Kingsdale that.
Well, we had a conversation about, like, she can know the cards. I don't remember.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
So I see visions. Lately, they're a lot more potent than they used to be. It used to feel like looking at a photograph that moved, black and white, easy to distinguish from regular life. But now all the details are just bright and clear and loud, and if I don't catch on to them just right, it's like being thrown around in a kaleidoscope, and it gives me a hellish headache. So no, it's not the dead. I've seen a dead body before, but since being here, really, those visions have been much worse.
Kingsdale kind of, like, hesitates. Did you make some kind of, like, deal for these powers? Was this bought with maybe a deal with... You seem to be knowledgeable of the Fae. Were they somehow gift givers of this ability for which it's now turning to a curse?
If a Fae gave it to me, they have yet to claim it. I just kind of came into my powers when I was a teenager. I don't know where they came from. I don't know if it was my parents. I don't know if some god or devil cursed me. I don't know how they came to be, but here I am. She's being honest here.
For me, that detail is, a a safe one to share. Do not tell any of the other hunters in this town any of that at all. The things that hunters hunt is broader than it ought to be, to say the least.
She kind of steps back from Kingsdale and is like, do you hunt people like me?
I have never hunted specifically a oracle that gained their powers by simply birth, but certainly I have hunted humans who sought to harm other humans using magical powers.
All right. So, the Hunters Guild in town
is a present danger to you, yes. And certainly to Saza. And likely to me for very different reasons.
Zach starts chanting, book heist, book heist, book heist.
I'm setting up a book heist, yeah.
All right. Good to know.
It is. And again, I will say, you are in no danger from me. I have largely attempted to distance myself from the fraternity to which I used to belong. However, that does not mean that I am unaware of their predilection towards violence, towards anyone who seems to be extra human and therefore a threat. Especially if you start, running scams with that ability in, a large or dangerous way, that could get harmful.
Got it. Does she have signs up for... I think she does. Or no, is it just word of mouth right now?
You tell me. You've been the one running
I think it's just word of mouth right now.
I also think it'd be one of those things, helping someone with powers, probably not that bad, but you're on thin ice. But the minute it's right. Oh, you lied to me and I broke my leg. Now it's well, you're now a supernatural thing hurting humans.
Right, yeah.
Get the pitchforks.
Yeah, okay.
Also, while we have a moment of break in the role-playing, Caitlin, you're allowed to ask, or M's allowed to ask Kingsdale one question. He does not have to answer honestly, but if he doesn't, he marks corruption.
Oh, as part of his intimacy move?
Yep.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, you're right. They will ask you a question in return. You're right. Although I think you have asked me several questions in return.
Okay.
But if there's anything you want to know...
Yeah, I think asking pretty immediately, have you killed anybody like me?
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt that in the moment.
That feels like a relevant question.
Oh, yeah.
Do I also get to do an intimacy move then?
Your intimacy move is different.
It is.
You will get to do it in a second. But what the book says also, Cody, for Kingsdale is, if you lie, whoever is there does not know you're lying.
Right.
So you can say anything you want, and it is treated as the truth. They trust you in that moment. The corruption you're marking is basically what you have to do to pull off the lie.
I understand, yeah.
So even if it's to us as players, a bold-faced lie, in narrative, it is believed.
Yeah, no, I get you.
So can I do my intimacy move now?
No, but your intimacy move will do you. With how you've set up your prophecies, I don't think your intimacy moves are doing them. They're being done to you.
Oh, yeah. Are you saying wait, though? It'll
be a second.
Later. Okay.
Are you guys done conversing?
I think so, yes.
So, as M has this moment of connection with Kingsdale, connecting with someone for probably the first time since she left. Were you in New York Goth as well?
I don't know if we decided.
Since you came out west, you go to take a step away, your vision changes and you are in a different scene. You are, from the perspective of Kingsdale, you are on top of a train as you see yourself falling off backwards and him reach out and grab you. You see M, I'm going to use the third person. That's what I figured out.
Yeah.
So Kingsdale, you reach out as Kingsdale and grab M from falling off the side of the train. She looks about to say thank you as her eyes go wide, and you feel a pain in your lower back as you tumble off this train. And you snap back to the forest, where everything is quiet except for the chirps and chitters of animals around. If you want, you can mark a corruption to ask me 2 questions.
I don't know that I have enough context that I think will make my questions helpful. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm gonna leave that for now.
Cool. As you begin to walk away, you feel the beginnings of a migraine set in. Saza has a nice, long, quiet walk back to the Quiver Sand Tavern. You have an uneventful walk back when you arrive back to Lilura and Lilurin running scams in front of the Quiver Sand Tavern. They're doing 3-card Monty. They're doing the ball game. One of them is playing chess.
Are they chess hustlers? Kingsdale is so proud.
Oh, they're everything hustlers. They have the good sense to not be giving away the product for free outside in the middle of the street.
I guess I have to give it to them for that, thinking ahead that much.
But that is about the full amount of forethought they've put into this. Welcome back, Saza. We've been making money while you've been gone. Kingsdale wasn't here to deal cards, so we thought we would.
Saza, puts a hand on each of their shoulders, and lowers her voice. Why don't we at least move this inside, away from prying eyes?
I would love to move inside. Everyone, come in and try to win back all of your money in the Quiver Sand Tavern's grand reopening.
We weren't closed forever. We were closed for like 3 hours. Get your ass in there. And she like spanks his butt with her fan. And she goes back behind the bar. And I think, she kind of like gets the night started in terms of like, I imagine there's probably enough people out there who have been waiting outside who would like drinks. And there's, plenty to get started and go around. And I think once her like area calms down a minute, she stops by both Lilura and Lilurin and asks them to keep their ears open for any particularly hot gossip topics. I'm not anticipating anybody specifically talking about Mr. Hooper, but, we're talking like people talking about like strange going-ons or things that they have seen around town recently. I'm sure I'll pick up a menagerie of things, but just kind of wanted them to keep their ears open.
Yeah, make me a hit the streets roll. We're going to kind of adapt it a little bit, but so roll with your power since you're trying to find out about that. Also, while I'm thinking of it, Kingsdale, mark wilds and power for your advancement chart.
Oh, why?
You used an intimacy move with M, who is in power. You used a circle move on wilds.
Yep.
M, you already have wild, so you can't mark that again, but you did do an intimacy move with Mortalis.
Aha.
And Saza, you are doing a circle move with power, so you'll have to mark that on your advancement chart.
Okay, so do you want me to roll with... Oh, power is the circle.
Yes.
Okay.
So I believe it's a 0 for you right now.
It is a 0 for me. Okay. That is a 9.
All right. So as I said, we're adapting this a little bit, and I'm going to say your information is a little bit... It's not so much that you're finding one person who has information, but you're getting a little bit of information trickled in over through the night, so it might not be as accurate or as detailed as you'd want, since you want Lilura and Lilurin to keep a low profile on this, I presume.
I would say it's all... Yes, I would also say it's like I am also listening.
Mm-hmm.
So we're basically having, 3 pairs of ears hearing a variety of things, and everyone can interpret it their own way. So yeah, it would make sense that I'm not getting everything perfectly clearly.
All right, so as the night goes on, you get a lot of different patrons in and out. You're hustling, you're doing this, and eventually you get to, as the night winds down, you get to touch base with Lilura. Lilurin's still busy in back. So, you told me to keep your eye out for gossip. You'll never believe that apparently one of the Fae Court recently left the Fae to go join the Blacksmith's Guild. It apparently was quite the to-do. Because when do Fae ever be allowed to leave their courts? It's like finding a loophole in a contract. It, like, never happens.
I wasn't even aware that you had to leave the Fae. I didn't think the Blacksmith's Guild was its own thing. I assumed you could be both.
Oh, they're like their own, like, thing here. They call themselves the Authors of Steel. And let me tell you, with him tonight, I was my own Author of Steel.
Did you learn why the Fae member left?
Oh, apparently he just really likes metalworking and not in the type that I like. There's also some, like, weird stuff about this guy named Peter Hooper that, like, apparently no one liked, but, like, switching from a fairy court to just another group just seems so much more interesting.
What did you hear about Peter Hooper?
No, he's the boring one. I'm more interested in the authors.
I'm more interested in all of it. So yes, finish what you were saying about the Fae Court, and then I do want to hear about Peter Hooper.
I'm just saying it seems odd to me that any Fae Court would let anyone ever leave. You've met them. You've met all the different courts of summer, of winter, of autumn, of spring, of pre-spring, of post-spring, of almost pre-spring, and they're all pretentious bastards. Like, imagine one of them letting them leave. Like, who's gonna paint the dewdrops on flowers now?
Oh, I know. It is incredibly ridiculous how high and mighty the Fae Court acts. They just let the member just leave. Nothing came of it.
Not yet, but I mean, like, from what I hear, like, the Fae Court here is not the strongest. It's not like a summer court kind of deal. You know, where summer is pretty dominant. Like, I think the court out here is less of a major player from the stuff I can gather.
Did it sound like the court was upset that they left, or ambivalent? And I mean, no, if it was ambivalent, it would be a surprise.
I mean, they didn't say, like, I didn't want to, you said be discreet, you know, and then we were discreetly doing other things. And by discreetly, I mean completely loudly.
Of course. I'm just trying to get as much as I can. So, okay. And I know it's so boring, but what did you hear about Peter Hooper?
Apparently, some guys were talking about him at one of the card tables. Yawn. I don't know why you let Lil Lurin go in the back first tonight. I clearly won at rock, paper, scissors by cheating.
Yeah, but he wiped the counters, so he got an advantage.
That's how he got it. He wouldn't tell me how he buttered you up. Ooh, that.
It's called doing chores.
Yeah, but those aren't fun.
They aren't. That's why he got an advantage. So anyway, a bunch of men were sitting at the card table talking about him.
Apparently, he was kind of a dick, and not really well liked by any of the prospectors, from what I could tell. He was one of those guys who was always like, we met quotas this week, that means we can increase them next week. Which, I mean, like, at a certain point, enough is enough, you know what I mean?
Was he in the Prospectors Guild?
Yeah, he was part of, like, the mining corp, you know? Whatever they call it. Panaffery, Peninsula, Popery, Pentacle.
What? Yeah, whatever they're called.
Whatever. I call them...
Were they just talking about how annoying he was?
They talked about how he sucked and that they won't miss him, so I assume he was fired, you know.
That's probably definitely what it was.
Right? Like, I mean, bad managers get the axe. You know how it is. Down in hell, like, if we suck at our jobs and are terrible, we get killed.
Yes, I am very aware of that.
Quick question, you did say we won't get in trouble for following you, right?
No, if anything, I'm going to be the one who gets in trouble if Kazaroth ever gets a hold or a wind of where we are.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to double check. Anyway, I'm gonna go see if I can drum up more business. And by that I mean whisk away anyone who's bored at the tables.
All right. I will see you later.
Hopefully not. Unless are you less boring now?
No, unfortunately, I am still very boring.
But Saza, I know you want a big fish. I get it. But we are in a very small pond. There aren't big fish. Well, I mean, depending on what you're meaning by fish. There are some big fish, I can attest. There are some big fish.
Saza pats her cheek. Later, darling. Go have some fun.
And she, pouts away, but she scurries off.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you'd like to know?
Do I get anything different from Leloran? We don't have to do a whole thing, but is there any details that he tells me that are different or specifically similar?
It's vaguely the same thing.
He confirms
Yeah.
everything that Laura said.
Would Laura have been able to point out the men talking about Peter Hooper?
Yes.
And were any of them specifically, I don't want to be were any of them named characters, but are any of them seemingly important?
It looks like a group of low-level workers from the mine, prospectors from the mine. I'm calling them prospectors instead of miners, for the record.
Mining workers.
Mining workers, man.
We'll know what you mean, whichever one you use.
It just seems to be low-level people. No one, not to say no one named. They seem to be status 0 in in mechanic terms. They are people who exist in the setting, but they are, the goons and grunts of this organization.
Yeah. And they probably, from overhearing or talking to Laura, they probably sound like they are people who are just gossiping to gossip, not active participants trying to talk in code word or something like that.
Correct.
Okay.
They're sharing the gossip of work that directly affects them with each other, and Leloran I guess are keeping their ears open for that.
Yeah. I don't think there was anything. I know I said this last week, and I'm trying to pull up real quick. I don't think there was anything else I specifically said I was going to do, right?
I don't think so. I think getting that gossip is exactly.
I think that was the big stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, then I think I am good. I'll scroll back and double check, but I think I'm good.
Because we were still going to meet up the next day and go to the general store and the apothecary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that.
All right, back in the forest, Em and Kingsdale trudge on. The trees start to get a little bit denser, the canopy covering more. It's darker as you go deeper into this forest. As you feel like you must be getting close to this, you hear a voice call out, "Halt, strangers from a different land." Out on a deer that strides out is a shortish woman with braided auburn hair. Her eyes are completely black in the way of Fae. "What brings you to this land that is under the dominion of the Court of Iron?"
Kingsdale walks forward and extends his hand. "Good afternoon, madam. You may call me Frankie if you wish."
Frankie, that name is like bark on the tongue.
"Indeed it is, for me as well. I do not have the mind nor the patience for subterfuge. I believe that a human was killed in your lands, but at the moment, for a variety of reasons, I do not believe it was by a Fae. I could be wrong on this, however, I have been tasked by a friend to discover who may have been responsible for such an act. Now, as I said, I do not believe this was a Fae, but aside from myself and my compatriot, I am curious if anyone else has trespassed in your lands recently that struck you as odd or threatening. Maybe someone who was armed heavily with knives or swords, that type of thing.
It is very bold of you to come into my lands demanding answers to questions.
Not demanding, just making our way through.
I might say this. I do not demand answers. I believe that answers would be mutually beneficial. As I said, I do not believe that this was you or a fae at all. However, I believe the intention is for it to appear as such. Now, I myself am inclined to learn the truth before I act. However, there are others that certainly are not. And I am concerned that you might be blamed in place of the person who actually deserves justice. But I demand nothing from you. If you wish us to leave, I shall leave. If you wish us to speak to you no more, I shall speak to you no more.
What host would I be to turn away such gentry upon a first meeting? I will accept your clarifications and consider no outstanding debts between us for any perceived slights. As a show of goodwill, I will answer one of your questions. There has been a man traipsing through our lands recently. What?
Go ahead. Just realized something. Probably should have clarified, I'm not talking about the dead guy, by the way, other than the dead guy.
You didn't say that.
I didn't.
You did not say that. Did I describe the dead guy at all?
You can tell us if she just describes the dead guy. I get it. I figured it out. I got what I did wrong. It's okay.
There was a man who was with the mining corporation, Prosperity Plateau Mining Corporation, who has come into our lands to uproot and steal what is ours by dominion and right, and he got away. That is why I'm out here, making sure that no other intruders come upon our sacred realm and take what is rightfully ours without due recompense.
Would you like those items returned to you?
That would be a great boon to me and my people. And if you were able to do such a thing, I, and I do not use these words lightly, would be in your debt.
Kingsdale gets in his bag and just hands her the thing full of leaves.
Do you hand her the full flower?
I would hand her all the ones that I have other than the one that's currently bandaged to my arm, and that one I'm not talking about.
Okay. Well, Frankie, and she looks pointedly at M.
Call me M.
And M, I am in your debt. Is there anything I can do to repay you for this kindness you have shown beneath the sun and the moon that sets on our lands?
Well, okay, first of all, just inspection-wise, does she carry anything that would make a wound like I saw? By the way, what I'm going with for what I saw, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, is like horizontal parallel slashes, or you know what I mean? Like parallel slashes.
Yes.
That were rough, that were not like, you know what I mean? They were like a slash across his body that looks like claws, but is not claws, right? Too surgical to be claws.
So you're going to get information regardless. Make me a mind roll, because I want to know if you notice something. Just make me a straight mind roll, and I will give you you'll get answers to that question regardless.
Okay.
I just want to see how perceptive Kingsdale is.
That's a 5.
Okay. So what you see on her you see on like a bandolier, you see throwing knives. The ones with like the eye hook.
Oh shoot, that was a 6, but whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it's a failure either way.
Yeah, I know.
So Kingsdale knows how to look for weapons. What you see on her is a bandolier. She has throwing knives with an eye hook with multiple knives in there. She also is carrying I would say it's a longsword of what you can presume would be iron. So it is more wedge-shaped than just a straight edge like we are typically used to seeing with swords made of steel.
Okay.
Outside of that, you don't notice other weapons on her. Or any signs that would point to another weapon that she's hiding.
Gotcha.
You make certain assumptions where there's probably a knife in a boot somewhere, but like you can't tell that. But there isn't something bulky or bulging anywhere on her that gives you pause.
You say this man escaped from you. Did he escape from all of you or just from you personally?
He unfortunately escaped from all of us in the sense that he escaped our domain without us being able to stop him. He was quick, and by the time we realized a wrong had been committed, he was already on his way out.
Was he magical in any way? Did he have glamours of his own that allowed him to sneak in your fair kingdom?
Now, I understand that I do owe you a debt, but I would not want to say how one could or could not get past our securities. We have only just met. Now, if you were to give me something like, say, something as trivial as a name, I would be happy to answer something like that.
Was he alone, or was there other people with him? He's the only person, aside from me, my compatriot, Princess Daffodil, and the man who is now dead. Has there been anyone else?
He has been killed?
Elbows Kingsdale.
I do not, Yes, he is dead. To everyone's shock, I am sure. Now, has there been anyone else?
I can't say that I am disappointed in this turn. I was rather curious on how you had obtained such items from him, though they seem so trivial that were important to us.
Was he alone while he was here?
According to the owls of the forest and the snakes of the ground, and the wind that whispers in his ear, he was a solitary creature, shunning friend and foe alike, escaping all...
Is there any one of you that has large metal claws, perhaps iron ones like is strapped to you right now? Maybe 3 or 4 of them worn in like a glove or on a paw?
You see, these are not claws of any sort. These are rather knives, and she pulls one out.
I understand that. I am asking if anyone has fashioned them into a claw and affixed them to the hand, or to a staff, or to maybe a flail.
I, unfortunately, cannot speak for everyone in our court, but that has not happened to my knowledge.
What do the flowers do?
Now, Mr. Frankie, the flowers do a great many things, but that is for only those blessed with the etherealness of the Fae to understand.
I understand. I'm gonna...
Your poor mind would fracture at the very thought of what the very drop of its essence could do to a man such as yourself, even if you are strong and intimidating to other mortals.
I'm gonna do worse things out there tonight. I'm gonna roll plus blood if I'm offering to protect somebody. See how this goes, then we'll see how it goes. That is a 7, which means I can, so on a 7 to 9, they counter offer, demand a payment, or a debt. Basically, they can do a debt or, something else. Now look. People are coming for these flowers. We do not yet know why. As I said, I do not believe it was you that harmed this man. But somebody did, which means this man and someone aside from you wants these flowers. I am not going to be the only person coming to look for them, and certainly no one else will give them back to you for free out of a sense of justice and dignity, as I did. Now, I can offer to protect all of you from whatever is coming for you, but only if you actually inform me as to the stakes of this conflict.
You see her flipping through mental arguments very quickly across her face, which Em knows is an atypical thing. You have caught this Fae off guard in a way that is difficult to do.
Can't they just straight up refuse?
I think that I have to offer a counter offer, I think is the idea. Because you rolled a hit.
They counter offer or demand a payment, a debt, a favor. So yeah, you could just ask me for something in return, or you could counter offer. Yeah.
I will tell you this. I will make this arrangement with you. If you are willing to leave our lands and not pursue these flowers anymore, I will tell you a little of what they do.
It is fine. I refuse this deal.
That is fine. But either way, if you would be so kind to leave our domain, and next time Approach us through the proper channels, as I'm sure M over here knows how. You smell a fairy.
Kingsdale looks at M. Do you now?
I have met few not of our blood who smell as strong as she does.
I hope the scent does not offend you.
I will say this. I am fine with leaving at the moment. I would encourage you to remember the gift that I gave you and the debt that you owe to me.
I will never forget our debt, Frankie. And as to you, M, the scent does not offend us, but it does make us wonder whether you are here for yourself or if you are checking in on us.
I only act for myself.
As anyone checking in on us would say. And she has the look of the conversation is over.
Yeah. I assume she kind of rides off.
Yeah, you see her ride off into the distance, and as you guys turn to go, you know she is not far, and then the feeling of eyes upon your backs as you head out of the forest back to town is with you the whole way until you are back on the road.
What is the correct channel other than being kind when she appears? Do you perhaps throw a rock at a tree with a message inscribed on it in the blood of a squirrel?
No, who told you that?
No, when I made it up to be facetious.
Zach, I don't have an idea for what this might be. The proper channels to contact.
We can talk about it.
Okay. No, the more important question here is, if Peter Hooper was killed because of the flowers, why were the flowers still on him? If they're so valuable, why were they still there?
That is a good point. By the way, I want to look at my arm and see what the flower has done to my arm that I pressed against my skin.
Oh yeah, 15 minutes.
Nothing.
It does nothing?
Correct.
Kingsdale's gonna rub it on his lips. That sounds weird. It's the steps. You know, the last one is eating it and seeing what happens.
Nothing happens.
Then grinding it up and shooting it up, I guess, is the last one.
Oh, Saza!
Just saying, there's levels of protection. Your stomach is one of them, your skin's certainly a good one.
Alright, as Kingsdale starts doing these ill-advised experiments on himself, we will end this episode. Hey Wanderers, thanks for listening to our campaign Desperation. As always, you can follow us on our socials, and if you like what you hear, leave us a review on your podcast app of choice, and tell a friend about the show. We hope you've enjoyed your time in Desperation. Just because it's the end of the line, doesn't mean you don't have options.